In our Grand Lodge Statute, Section 1.130 states Parliamentary authority. The current version of Robert's Rules of Order, newly revised, shall govern all proceedings unless contravened by the Constitution or laws of the order or the bylaws of the lodge. Robert's Rules of Order are also noted in Appendix 1 of the statute's Voting Requirements Guide. We'll spend a few minutes on the Voting Requirements Guide in a separate video. During a journey to Panama, Robert contracted malaria and he was transferred to New Bedford, Massachusetts, where the climate was much more forgiving for the malaria. Robert specifically came to New Bedford to supervise as an engineer the building of Fort Rodman and Fort Tabor, which had been designed to protect the very busy harbor from the Confederate Navy. New Bedford at the time was the center of the whaling industry and provided the vast majority of the United States lamp oil, wax, and lubricants. It was the place that inspired Herman Melville's Moby Dick. Robert was chosen to moderate a meeting at the First Baptist Church in New Bedford to discuss the port's defenses against Confederate raiders. Now understand that most of these folks were abolitionists and they were in the middle of the Civil War. Now I know that we've had some very long meetings in lodges and it takes a little bit of time to get through with it, but for Roberts, the long meeting lasted 14 hours and it got out of hand. It was cantankerous. And it was said that Mr. Robert vowed that if he ever got out of that meeting alive, he would learn to control the next one he became involved with. Robert was a lieutenant at the time and he wrote, "One can scarcely have had much experience in the deliberative meeting of Christians without realizing that the best of men, having wills of their own, are liable to attempt to carry out their own views without paying sufficient respect to the rights of their opponent." And that was Robert's concern, was that in this church that was Christian, that people were arguing and getting uproarious with one another and did not give each other the respect that they needed during this meeting. So he wrote a manual in response to his own poor performance in leading a church meeting that erupted into open conflict because of concerns about this local defense that they were trying to figure out during the Civil War. Lieutenant Roberts resolved that he would learn about parliamentary procedure before attending the next meeting. The rules are loosely based on the procedures in the United States House of Representatives, but the rule book is not intended for national or state legislatures. Parliamentary procedure take into account the often conflicting interests that develop during meetings, and they provide procedures that ensure decisions are made fairly. They are based on the rights of the majority, minority, individual members, absentees, all of these together. Now, what is a majority? A majority is more than half of the votes cast by persons legally entitled to vote after taking blank votes and abstentions into account. A majority does not mean 51%. A strong majority is considered a two-thirds vote. It's not called a two-thirds majority. A two-thirds vote is generally not taken as a voice vote, but rather as a standing count, a written ballot, as we do the ballot boxes where we put the white balls or the black balls in, or some other countable fashion. To calculate a two-thirds vote, divide the number of votes by 3, and then multiply times 2. So what is a strong minority? Is that 2 members, 5 members, 10 members? Well, if a strong majority is 2/3, then it stands to reason that a strong minority is 1/3. In our order, the power of the lodge is not in the hands of the exalted ruler, or trustees, or board of directors. The power of the lodge is in the hands of the individual member. Absentees are not applicable in Elkdom. Absentee or proxy voting is not permitted. See Statute 3.090, Opinion Number 2. All of these together make up the rights under Robert's Rules of Order.